That's good. Okay, let's see how yours looks. All right, thanks for coming to my studio, Ryan.
No
Appreciate
problem.
you taking
Thanks
the
for
time.
the invite.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really excited to chat with you. So I know you've got a little bit of time to prep. Hope you're excited and ready to chat about your interest in the arts and your degree and all the stuff you're pursuing. So why don't we just get right into it, I guess.
Sure.
Okay. Can you give me a brief statement about who you are and what you do?
I'm Ryan Andrade.
Okay.
That's just the name to start.
Yeah.
I'm a journeyman welder. I started out as welding. I like doing all sorts of working with my hands, metal fabrication, all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Also really into art, and now I'm an art student at the U of A doing my BFA.
Awesome. And you've been doing that for a couple of years now?
Yes.
Okay. And how are you liking it?
I really love it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What qualities or values of being present are important to you in your pursuit of the arts?
I think it's mainly like a focus on willing to like really put the effort in.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the big things is like for me, like I always try to put a lot of time and effort into myself because I really want something specific to come through or make an image that's something like specific and that whatever's in my head I really want to try to get it out there, and I think there's kind of a discipline that you kind of need to bring it out there almost.
Right. So it's sort of like, routine, exercise, diet, that kind of stuff, or more like in internal?
I think more like in the head a little bit more, yeah.
Okay.
A little bit more internally.
Okay. And so what do you do to accomplish that? Like what kind of things do you like psych yourself up? Positive affirmations? How do you get about it?
I don't really think I set a whole lot up for myself to do all that. I just kind of switch into a mode of I just try to think like this is how I want to do something or this is what I want to do and try to just make it happen.
And is there anything that inspires you to pursue those things or to think that way?
I don't really think it's so much like that. I think it's maybe just the general like desire to try to want to make this type of art.
Okay.
That just really just kind of wants like I want to do something, and I just have that drive to just make something that I find interesting.
Okay. So you're interested in technical work and you're interested in making something.
I'd say so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Interested in making things that are about the process of making art and not necessarily about conceptualizations of art.
I'd say, yeah, it's probably more towards that rather than the concept part. I'm not as heavy into that aspect.
So how do you balance your time between your work and other obligations in your life?
I think, especially when I'm in school anyways, I probably don't do the best job at balancing. I tend to focus a little way too much on some of my work to the point that it becomes my primary source of whatever I'm doing when I'm awake.
Okay.
But at other times, I just try to find out what can I do to make the project, like my finished painting work, and then how can I get just enough of everything else and just try to deal with it as it comes.
Right, so you're kind of living day by day, kind of like the guy in Almost Famous, the journalist who just kind of flows with the rest of
A little bit, maybe, yeah.
Okay. Have you seen the movie? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I saw it I can't remember when I saw that. It was a while ago.
Yeah, sorry. I really like to reference movies when I talk about.
that's all right.
So so you're kind of just going with the flow. You make art to the best of your ability based on what time I guess you can commit to it because you have a full-time job as well and obviously other relationships to manage and yeah. Do you find that you focus on one thing over another?
I can kind of get distracted by one thing at a time.
Yeah.
Sort of seems like, especially when it comes to painting, for example, I'll start to focus way too much on that, and then I gotta kind of stop and check myself and be like, "You got to do this now," or focus up like that.
If you had no limitations in life, would you change anything about how you run your life?
I think I would. I mean, if I didn't have the same sort of commitments like that, about having to do everything, if I could just really focus on, say my art, for example, I would like more time to do stuff like that. I think that would be a good reason for me to change if I had the ability.
Okay.
Yeah.
And would it be something like you are sort of like in a hyperbolic time chamber, just sort of separating yourself from the outside world, or is it more just like your ability to absorb and comprehend things?
I think a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And why do you say both?
Just being able to go in somewhere and just kind of focus like that would be a great way to do it, but I think just having that other ability to try to spread myself a little bit more, I think that's quite important too.
And do you think that desire is sort of inherent in you, that you are sort of always trying to look at things sort of as they are rather than as they should be?
I think probably, yeah. I mean, I always try to make everything work in that sort of way, and that's always been kind of like, never always works. I mean, sometimes it does, but...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a routine and a typical way of dealing with challenges?
I don't say it would be a typical routine. I think it's more of just, if there's the problem, I try to fix it the best way I know how at the time, but I mean, different problems will just like get a different reaction out of me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So can you give me an example of a problem that would get a really strong negative reaction?
Maybe something that's really stressful, like at, say, work or something like that. I might, if I had to try to fix something immediately, I might be really stressed about how to fix that, and I might not be as calm and cool about how to deal with it.
Okay.
As opposed to, say, if I was working on a painting of some kind and something wasn't working right, I would go about it in a very different way.
Right.
I think that also kind of relates a bit more to, like, just the time frame in which I can do something. That can also be a big effect for me anyways.
Yeah, so when you're dealing with people, for instance, versus, working by yourself, there's always an opportunity to sort of have to, like, navigate their wants and needs.
Yeah.
And then, like, going back to that subject of, like, trying to balance things in your life, now you're dealing with additional resources. And so I guess the people management thing is a totally different...
It definitely is, yeah. It just really shifts how you're looking at something and how you're trying to deal with an issue of some kind.
So do you find then that you prefer to be around people, or do you prefer to be by yourself?
I think I find it's a little bit easier for me to sort of work a little bit more on my own, but not be completely isolated to the point where there's absolutely no one around. But
when was the last time you did something that was atypical or out of your comfort zone?
A lot of like that sort of armor and metal work, and those sort of types of things that I loved when I was a kid. I loved drawing and those sort of things, and my friends were all into the same stuff that I was, and I was kind of interested in that stuff too. And that was just like, I just want to keep like increasing that ability to make those sort of things.
Yeah, so you sort of naturally went to what you loved, trying to think of a way to get paid, I guess, to do it right.
To try to make my way in the world, but still have the ability to somehow relate it to what I liked.
Right. So the atypical, I guess, for you would be to not do that.
I guess so, yeah.
Right. So you're not really in situations where you're not doing what you care about, because your work in all its various capacities is related to those pursuits, right?
Or at least at the very least, I'm trying to find something that is somehow related to one of those things so that I can somehow turn that into something that's usable and related. Yeah.
Do you still make metal work for yourself?
Not a lot. Like, I have a few scraps of metal and some other projects that I haven't really finished that they kind of just sit around the house or something like that. Yeah.
Does that inspire you at all? Like when you see it and you're like, oh, I should make a painting about this, or in...
Not as much. I think a lot of my projects are they're almost separate from each other in that way, where I'm just like, okay, this sort of thing can exist in this medium, and this sort of medium is a little bit different in terms of what I want out of here, as opposed to out of here.
Oh, I see. Do you have anything in life that you do which has no relation to your work or to your sort of life purpose?
It might be, but I think there's also a certain amount of like rhythm to like what I do at times, just to find out certain work pieces or something like that. So I mean, I guess it would be a little bit of both.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So like, even like eating and sleeping, all those things they all inform what you do.
I wouldn't go that far.
Well, that's what I mean.
Although, I mean, I guess, I've had a few paintings that kind of had like bits taken from dreams where I kind of like, okay, there was a sort of an overall form, and then I kind of found some stuff that kind of reminded me of it and kind of related back that way. So I mean, in that aspect, just a little bit, yeah.
What about like just like conversations with your friends and your family? Like, does anything come out of that?
Not usually. I mean, I've written down a few things that like maybe like me and my friends were talking about, and then I kind of was like, that was kind of interesting. That could be somehow translated, but I don't think I've used anything directly like that.
Right. If you had to drop one thing out of your life, right now that you consider part of your balance in life, what would you choose to get rid of first?
Maybe it would probably be that time where I'm just like alone, not doing anything.
Right.
That's a relaxation time. I think that would be hard to drop still, but I would have to pick that one.
And do you think that you'd find another way to like recover, or to like?
I think so.
Okay.
I think if anything, I could start folding that into like my art working time of some kind. Right. I know that there's at times where I try to do that and make stuff for school at the same time, and that kind of all folds into. It kind of becomes one sort of meditative thing.
Does it happen regularly for you?
Not all the time, but I think a decent amount enough where I've been working on just like, I just feel a lot more at peace where I'm just like, this is quite comfortable, something I enjoy doing, I just feel better doing it.
Right. Yeah, so you could get rid of your alone time because making art in some ways...
Almost makes up for it, yeah.
Almost makes up for it. Which says a lot about, that practice for you, right? Excellent. And then what's the thing you definitely wouldn't get rid of?
Some combination of all those, just because they all sort of I need sort of all the rest at some point.
You need to get paid, you need to make art, and you need to interact with people.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah.
I get like, if I don't keep making stuff, I just find that there's like a well of ideas that start building up, and then just kind of like it starts to bother me because I'm like, damn it, I'm gonna forget this by the time I need to make something. So if I don't make it sooner, I'm gonna lose that idea or something like that, or
right.
Or it'll just kind of eat at me or something like that, yeah.
Or if you're, you're getting busy addressing another aspect of your life, and then you walk away from the art making, and you're not in that frame of mind anymore.
Yeah.
The note taking probably can serve to refresh or spark that that frame. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like when you listen to music, everyone thinks that like they can sing a song verbatim, right? Like Canada, that's a bad example. I think we have all sing Canada as well. But like, say there's a song that you really care about, and it's the song you sing when you had a few drinks, or you're in the car driving down the highway or whatever, right? But those prompts in the song, like psychologically, like the way that our minds are wired, we can remember. We have better recall. When we have something
that kind of activates that, yeah. Right.
So when you mention like the note taking thing, that's what I think. Like maybe that's a way for you to sort of maintain without having to like keep it like top of mind all the time.
Yeah.
Where do you expect to see yourself in the next 5 years or so?
Hopefully with like having my degree already done, and then studio of some kind, and actually like making a body of work that I can actually have in a gallery with a solo show or something, whether it's here or somewhere else. Maybe looking at a master's degree at some point too, hopefully within that 5 years.
Yeah. Does it have to all happen in sequence?
Not necessarily, no.
Okay. And why those things? Why not just doing the journeyman thing?
That would be alright too. I mean, I wouldn't say that that's a bad thing, but I think I want to focus more on that specifically, but we have to see how it goes, so.
Yeah. Would you stay in Edmonton then, or would you move away? How would you?
Yeah. If I was going to be like moving or going somewhere else, I think I'd try to go like, not so much interprovincial, but more like continental or something like that.
Oh,
maybe.
Really? So even like you travel across the ocean?
Yeah.
So where would you go? What kind of?
If I was trying to do something for like an art career, I'd say I'd really like to do Germany, Leipzig.
Right.
And the Leipzig Institute there.
It's funny about the expressive like German artists. I remember that we talked about this too, right? But usually if you make that kind of art to begin with,
Mhm.
you ultimately kind of get drawn towards German
Yeah.
art. And I don't know what it is about their style of art making that is very textured, and it's about the process and about making the art and experiencing, and less about, like you said, less conceptual, less what does it mean? It's just like they just make art.
They see something, they want to make it, and they want to be able to see, like, this is what I thought about and this is what it is, rather than you could think it's this or this. It's
So do you find that those are the kinds of artists that you're drawn to in general?
Yeah. I'd say so. I mean, like a few of the artists that I look at right now, especially for my work, they're all like Leipzig German artists.
Okay.
Or they trained in that sort of area. So.
What story or narrative do you believe has been maintaining the status quo in Western culture, and what do you think needs to be done to maintain that status quo or improve upon it?
Yeah, I just don't like having a specific label on every specific thing. So I just really, because I know everyone's gonna look at stuff regardless of how much I try. So rather than trying, like, try to embrace it instead.
Right.
And so I'm like, that's what I find interesting. That's sort of the goal, I guess, in the end, is just try to see what I can make that other people can interpret on their own.
Right. And do you think that is something that needs to continue to happen in culture, and why?
I think yes, because I think a little bit of independence and sort of self-awareness for other people and just people in general is sort of kind of a good way to go, that now everyone has the means to sort of think for themselves and sort of kind of a little bit more self-reliance.
Without actually addressing it, you're addressing it, right? Like you're saying, I make art because I think art is important, and I like art, and I want to make technically interesting art, but I know balance is important to you, but at the same time, I think that even though you don't want to come out and say, like, this is what's important, you do it subconsciously in your art, right? Like, you're you know, what do you think about that? Is that
I think mine is more of trying to create narrative and sort of that sort of style of narrative through spaces and figures, and but trying to give it a loose enough version where I have the basic plot tools there, but nothing so specific that it tells you exactly what's happening here.
Right.
I want it to be open enough that the viewer can, like, kind of interpret it, and so they kind of find their own meaning in it.
Yeah.
And then that way there's sort of a little bit more intrigue and interest for anyone who's looking at it, because now if 3 people see it, they're all going to see something slightly different, rather than I put the exact specific pieces in there and then they're all like, okay, it says this, this, and this.
Yeah. So what it means to them varies, right? So self-contained stories.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, I might have an element or two that'll start to bleed over, but they're not going to be like a really direct thing that sort of like refocuses the entire thing.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, so this has been really interesting. I enjoyed chatting with you with this. You really do kind of do all these things really well. You sort of like walk the line between, the labor versus the art, and labor is the wrong word. The trades versus the arts, right? Because we have that in Alberta. There's very strong trades industry. So it's kind of refreshing and interesting to see someone who recognizes that and has found a way to find balance. And I'm curious to see where you go with it. I hope all the best things happen for you, and I like I said, I really enjoyed chatting with you about your art, and
definitely.
I hope I hope we can do sometime in the future, and as I build my audience and build my Rolodex of artists who I want to slot you in and hopefully connect you with other people. So, but that's basically that's everything, Ryan. So again, I hope you enjoyed it, and that's it.